Right, so the devastation wrought by Israel's atrocities in Gaza has left the Strip in ruins. The infrastructure has been obliterated, homes have been destroyed, and lives shattered. Now the people there face an aid blockade and starvation at the hands of Israel as the world seemingly sits on its hands again. But in the face of this humanitarian catastrophe, and a catastrophe and an ethnic cleansing plan being put forward by the tangerine-toned toddler passing himself off as President of the United States, Donald Trump, Egypt has proposed a comprehensive plan to rebuild Gaza, aiming to restore services, reconstruct homes, lay the groundwork for long-term stability, and build a Gaza fit for the future, part of a fully functioning and globally recognised Palestinian state. This plan has garnered significant international support amongst fellow Arab nations, but now it is winning plaudits amongst several European countries, including the UK, France, Germany and Italy. However, the United States and Israel have rejected the plan, citing concerns that it does not align with their political objectives, which roughly translated means there are still Palestinians in Palestine and there's no big gold statue of Donald Trump anywhere to be seen. With wider acceptance, though, this plan should be seen to be even more viable and potentially sees more nations willing to finance this reconstruction as well, with its price tag of $53 billion. But with many still opining Israel needs to have a role in how Palestine will be rebuilt, is there a danger some of those calling for support could end up undermining matters from within? Right, so Egypt's plan to rebuild Gaza has been widely lauded as a comprehensive plan to address the immediate humanitarian needs of the people of Gaza, whilst laying the foundation for long-term stability into the future. A Gaza, the likes of which we've never seen before. The plan includes the reconstruction of homes, schools, hospitals, infrastructure, as well as the restoration of basic services we all take for granted, like water, electricity, sanitation. It also envisages the creation of economic opportunities to reduce unemployment and poverty, including a 600-acre industrial zone, a seaport, and even an international airport. This plan, unlike the sick joke put forward by Donald Trump, is rooted in the principle of Palestinian ownership. It is their land, it's their stuff, ensuring that the people of Gaza have a say in the reconstruction process of their land, and above all else, they do not get ethnically cleansed from their land into the bargain. It also emphasises the importance of international cooperation, the need for this plan to work, and in that vein, Egypt unveiled their plans to other Arab nations in a summit at the end of last month, and has since expanded that effort to the global community to lend their support and contribute to a trust fund that will finance the rebuilding efforts, which carry that price tag of some $53 billion. But despite the cost, the plan has been praised for its practicality, its focus on the needs of the Palestinian people, as well as its vision for them going forwards, making it a viable alternative to the political stalemate that has hindered previous reconstruction efforts. Notable is the fact that the plan calls for the complete sidelining of Hamas, but in a show of how good the plan is, Hamas have accepted that and are supportive of it nonetheless. Well, now, on top of the Arabian support Egypt has received, their reconstruction plan has now won significant support from several European countries as well, including the UK, France, Germany and Italy. These countries have endorsed the plan as a realistic and practical solution to the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. I know, I'm shocked too, emphasising the need for immediate action to alleviate the suffering of the Palestinian people. Yet it is notable that all of these nations have been quite overtly pro-Israel, hence the shock. So it does leave you wondering somewhat how agreeing with Egypt whilst maintaining links with Israel is going to work out. Significant influence within several of these governments as Israel's got, you can't help but wonder if there's a catch to all this somewhere. However, in a joint statement, the foreign ministers of the UK, France, Germany and Italy expressed their support for the plan, stating that it offers a credible and sustainable path forward for the reconstruction of Gaza. They also called on the international community to also contribute to the trust fund, highlighting the importance of collective action in addressing this crisis. It's a global issue to sort this out. Now, regardless of any ulterior motives you might be cynical enough, like me, to ponder, this endorsement by these European powers still represents a significant boost for Egypt and their plan, as it demonstrates a growing consensus on the need for a coordinated and inclusive approach to reconstruction. Other European countries, including Spain, Belgium and Sweden, have also voiced their support for this plan. Some of these leaders emphasising the importance of working with Israel to ensure its success, though. Is this where the catch is, then? However, this cautious stance has raised concerns about the commitment of these countries to the plan, though, particularly given Israel's firm rejection of it. How do the two gel together? Well, the European endorsements are a positive development, they also highlight the seeming two-facedness of some of these nations who are avowedly pro-Israel. Their leadership certainly are. Yet they still say they support this plan of Egypt, which Israel has firmly rejected. So how do the two go together? Make it make sense. Well, the upcoming conference in Cairo, scheduled for later this month, might shed some light on that. It will certainly provide a platform for international stakeholders to discuss Egypt's reconstruction plan and coordinate their efforts on how to deliver it. The conference is expected to bring together representatives from Arab and European countries, as well as international organisations, for example, the United Nations and the World Bank. The primary focus of the conference will be on mobilising resources for this trust fund, a bit of bucket rattling, so to speak, and ensure that the reconstruction process is transparent, efficient and inclusive, as well as built on widespread international consensus as it has to be. The conference represents a critical opportunity to build momentum for Egypt's reconstruction plan even further, to really throw some proper media attention on it, or make it all the more inexcusable to continue playing it down for those that still ignore it, whilst also securing the necessary funding to make it a reality and see money actually going in that proverbial bucket. It also underscores the importance of international cooperation in addressing the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, as no single country or organisation can possibly tackle this challenge alone. Egypt have led the way, but others need to support it now. Yet still, you still have that nagging in the back of your head, given how much foreign interference and propagandising Israel is responsible for, how their objection to all of this may find a way to cut through at this conference as well. The success of that conference will depend on the willingness of all stakeholders involved to put aside their political differences and prioritise the needs of the Palestinian people and not Israel. Speaking of the trust fund, who's going to be in charge of such a thing then, Damo? Well, the plan is that it will be managed by an international consortium with contributions from Arab and European countries as things currently stand, as well as international organisations who aim to raise the necessary billions of dollars needed to cover the cost of reconstruction. So it looks like that might be covered. But the trust fund provides a mechanism for pooling resources and coordinating efforts. Putting money in makes it all that much more real, doesn't it? That this is actually going to happen, or could happen. It also reflects the principle of shared responsibility, with the international community finally coming together to address this crisis that has got global implications. And when national cash is on the line, there always seems to be that little bit more pressure on the politicians to see these things through. However, the success of the fund will depend on the willingness of the countries to contribute to begin with. And we'll soon see through nations praising the plans now, but not backing that up with action later. No cash going in the bucket from certain people, particularly in the face of political opposition from the US and Israel, with all the nefarious influence both of those nations have too much of. Despite the growing international support for Egypt's reconstruction plan, the United States and Israel are very much still rejecting it, citing concerns that it does not align with their political objectives. This is the narrative, that's the line, that's how it gets put in the media, which in Israel's case means ridding itself of the Palestinians for its own racist ideological reasons, and the US because little Donny wants his beachfront casinos and hotels. The US has argued that the plan does not address the root causes of the conflict, when it clearly does. The strip has been raised north to south, and this rebuilds that, which is obviously necessary, and puts new governance in place to replace Hamas at that, so why are you arguing against it? While Israel has criticised it for failing to include provisions for disarmament and security, and although it's certainly true that Hamas will not disarm, after 15 months of genocide and the only security ever under consideration being Israel's, it's little wonder Hamas won't move on that. How can they, or anyone, frankly, consider doing so? Because trust Israel to not resume atrocity if they figure they won't be fired back on. Pull the other one. Look at the Lebanon ceasefire, which they ignored and the Lebanese forces respected to get your answer. These objections are widely seen as a pretext for maintaining the status quo, therefore, which serves the interests of both the US and Israel. It keeps the Palestinians under Israeli occupation and abuse for their security, and nothing functionally changes for them. An occupied people who are always going to resist being occupied. The US and Israeli opposition to the plan, therefore, is completely inexcusable, as it prioritises political considerations in their interests over basic humanitarian needs of the Palestinian people, who have literally got nothing left. By attempting to block the reconstruction of Gaza, the US and Israel are perpetuating the suffering of innocent civilians and undermining the prospects for a lasting peace. And this, of course, is the biggest massive hurdle that must be overcome for the reconstruction to even begin. Their stance also highlights the double standards in international relations, where powerful countries are able to dictate the terms of a reconstruction, whilst ignoring the voices of those most affected by the conflict, whose land needs rebuilding. aided and abetted by the mainstream media at the same time. The Organisation of Islamic Cooperation, the OIC, a group of 57 Muslim nations, and the United Nations have also now voiced their support for Egypt's reconstruction plan, adding even more to the growing coalition of international backing. The OIC has described the plan as a practical and realistic solution to the crisis in Gaza, while the UN has expressed its readiness to support the plan and contribute to seeing it delivered, presumably as long as the US don't veto any vote on that, I presume. Egypt's reconstruction plan for Gaza represents a beacon of hope at last in the midst of a devastating humanitarian crisis, yet you still get left with the feeling something underhanded by Israel or the US, or both, may yet come to scupper it somehow. I can't help being a cynic, but this is a positive story. Let's not let pessimism creep in, because growing international support for this plan, particularly from European countries, is a big positive development, is something we should welcome, is what we want to see, because that underscores the importance of collective action, global collective bargaining in addressing crisis in Gaza and putting the place back together, which is what everybody with every right-thinking person should absolutely want. For more details of the Egyptian plans to rebuild Gaza, they are very detailed. Please check out this video recommendation here as your suggested next watch. Please also hit like, share and subscribe if you haven't already done so as to ensure you don't miss out on all new content published daily, as well as supporting the channel at the very same time, which is very much appreciated, holding power to account for ordinary working class people, and I will hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers folks.